What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/MaliciousCompliance. This story's called, "Would You Just Do Your Frickin' Job?" When I was 19 years old and a fresh high school, or my country's equivalent, graduate, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. The one thing I did know is that I needed money, so I started applying for all kinds of jobs. After a few weeks of writing applications, going to interviews, and waiting nervously for replies, I was hired as a full-time sales assistant at an international company making smartphones, TVs, and other electronic gadgets. Said company was in the process of opening their first official store in my country, and I, as I was hired about 3 months before they were due to open, helped them however I could. I created one-pagers, basically posters that show all the hardware inside a device plus a picture, translated manuals, put security tags on products, etc. Whatever they wanted me to do, I did, sometimes until late at night. Still foolishly thinking that this initiative would maybe be recognized in one shape or another. Alongside me, they hired 4 other people, 3 more sales assistants, and a store manager, all of whom were young and ambitious, just like me. The grand opening went very well. Business was booming for like the first 2 weeks, and everything seemed fine. That's where the problem started. The first thing we realized we didn't have were guidelines on how to handle returns and warranty cases, as the company's electronics had been available online long before the store opened. Some people now started bringing in their devices to get them fixed or swapped out, none of which we knew how to handle. This annoyed a lot of customers. Being given the information that only devices bought at our specific store would be handled under warranty only made things worse for us. We were getting abuse on a daily basis that ranged from curse words to death threats. Once we even had to call security because a customer was threatening us. This stress caused one of my colleagues to quit, understandably. This, as it turned out, was only the tip of the iceberg. Some of the other problems we had included having a break room with no access to fresh water, no fridge, no microwave, and of course, no bathroom. All big no-nos where I live. Resupply came in sporadically at best. Sometimes we were resupplied twice a week. Sometimes there were no deliveries for 3 weeks, making it very hard for us to tell our customers when their devices will be arriving. The store manager was so incompetent, he couldn't even finish our schedule 3 days in advance, although giving the schedule 2 weeks in advance is mandatory. One of my colleagues thought, screw this, about a month after our grand opening and went on sick leave, which where I live basically gives you immunity from getting fired. So now we were 2 men down. The bosses apparently wanted us to provide tech support over the phone, which again, none of us were trained to do. We did our best, but only really ended up with more threats in addition to having our official store phone number constantly blocked by these calls. Also, we were expected to take over social media communications as well, meaning we now had to answer questions on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., putting even more strain on our small team. In the end, the manager couldn't deal with the stress anymore and broke down about 2 months after opening. He even sought psychological counseling after quitting. While I was sad to see him go, I thought that now my time had come to prove myself. I took over most of his duties, still only earning about half of what the manager made. Naively, I worked 60 to 70-hour weeks for almost 3 months straight, still thinking that this would somehow pay off. I made sure to tell my bosses how much more I did than we agreed upon in my contract, but they didn't seem to care. That is, until our sales figures dropped. All of a sudden, I had 2 of them come into the store unannounced, basically drag me into a back room and start lecturing me on how badly the store is performing. The conversation went something like this.
"So why would you say the store sales performance has dropped so much since manager left?"
"Well, a lot of customers are unhappy with the way
Our products are very competitive. Why are you still struggling to sell them?"
Me, slightly disgruntled. "Well, sir, as I was trying to say, the customers are not happy with our service, and running a store with just 2 employees is almost impossible. If we could hire 2 more assistants, maybe we could focus better on our numbers."
"The interviews for those positions are ongoing. You will have new employees soon. But you were hired for a reason, so would you just do your frickin' job?"
"Yes, sir." After that meeting, I felt defeated. Doing all this extra work, staying late, taking responsibility for things I had no business taking responsibility for, the threats, the uncertainty, the stress, the sleep deprivation, all for nothing. And that's when it clicked in my head. Screw those guys. They wanted me to do my job? Fine. From now on, I will do exactly what my job description says. Nothing more, nothing less. The next day, I came in early, opened the store, everything normal. Until the first tech support call came in. I picked up the phone and after listening to what the caller wanted, told them that I was only a sales assistant and therefore not qualified to answer their questions. Hanging up the phone without saying goodbye, a postman came in with some special documents for the store manager, requiring a signature. I said, nope, sorry, not gonna sign that. I'm not a manager. After being informed that these were court documents and need to be signed for immediately, I just shrugged and said, not my problem. Just doing my job here, man. Later that day, after my colleague arrived, we got a delivery of new product for the store. The delivery guy handed me the manifest, asking me for a signature. Again, I declined, stating that I was just doing my job, and the manager would have to sign that. After making it clear to him that there wasn't a manager on site, he left, taking all of the new product with him. Product that we desperately needed. But I was beyond caring at this point. About 15 minutes later, I got a call from Boss 1 asking me why no one had signed for the delivery. I told him that, as there was no manager on site, nobody there was allowed to sign that document. After a few choice words, he hung up the phone and I went back to work, chatting with customers and generally not caring about anything. Half an hour later, Boss 1 and 2 descended upon me. They rushed into the store demanding an explanation for my behavior. I simply replied, I'm just doing my job, sir, just like you asked me to do.
What the hell do you mean? And why has nobody accepted today's delivery or the documents we've sent you?
Well, that's the manager's job. I'm not a manager.
Yes, you frickin' are. What the hell are you talking about?
No, not only would my pay be pretty poor for all the work I'm doing, my contract clearly states that I am a sales assistant and as such shall only fulfill duties related to that position.
And who the hell is supposed to be doing the manager's job if not for you?
I don't know, but I would gladly do it if you doubled my salary, of course.
What the hell do you think you are? We could have you replaced with someone cheaper in a heartbeat.
Okay then, go ahead. I quit, effective immediately. Bye. And then I just left. My remaining colleague, upon hearing me quit, also quits immediately, leaving our former bosses wide-eyed with no employees to run their store. I also had taken the liberty of informing the Board of Health and Labor about our working conditions, as well as getting myself legal counseling for some issues related to bonuses not being paid out. The store ended up having to completely shut down for about 2 weeks until they had a skeleton crew back together to run it. The kicker? About a month after I quit, and with my lawsuit for unpaid wages now pending, I got a call from Boss 1 telling me he wanted to accept my offer of doubling my salary to become the store manager. He said no one was willing to take the job now that word got around about how awful things are in the store. The following conversation ensued. Frankly, boss, I used his first name here just to anger him, I don't much like getting laughed at, so I'm afraid if you want me to come back, you're gonna have to quadruple my initial pay.
What? Are you insane? We can't afford that now. How are we supposed?
I don't give a damn, Boss 1, I really don't. But I've got an idea. How about you pull your head out of Boss 2's ass and just do your freaking job? Click. Okay, so that must have been insanely satisfying to do, so I'm happy for this guy. And yeah, it sucks having effort not recognized, because you can put in a lot of effort and no one really has to say anything about it, which sucks. But such is the way of the world. This story's called Comcast has the same data caps, 1 terabyte a month, regardless of speed or time of day without accounting for actual network impact? Fine, I'll cause much more strain on your network than before. December is always a high bandwidth month for me as many private trackers I'm on have free leech, which means I download a bunch of stuff and people are leeching off of what I have much more during the holidays. I also have family and friends over and connect to the network with phones, Netflix, streaming, etc. Last month, I called Comcast to see if they had any faster or higher data allowance plans, as there are much more bandwidth intensive things. and I've used more bandwidth this year than previous. They have several tiers, of which I think I'm on their mid-grade one that they keep changing the speeds of over time, and never get their full actual speed anyways. They told me that the 1 terabyte data cap was the same regardless of the tier, so if I got the fastest speed, I could burn through that cap in a day and be charged extra, even though it's already costing more than the lower tier. They told me that the data cap does not account for peak hours, as it counts the same at 3 AM as it does during the day. Also, you get 2 courtesy months a year where you can go over without overcharge. And it doesn't matter how much, whether it's 1 gigabyte or 10,000 gigabytes. Basically, I've made a habit of being a good steward of a network I'm on, and do things like throttle speed on torrents during prime time and let them run at night instead. Now, that doesn't matter, and I can't get anything better, even if I pay more for higher speed. Okay, fine. I'll keep the same rate I have, and use my courtesy month this month and make it well worth it. I do have to throttle torrents at 8 megabytes a second down, 5 megabytes a second up, because if I let it max out, the traffic shaping happens where I'm at 1 to 2 megabytes a second for a while. I decide to leave torrents up all day instead of just at night, thus eating up tons of expensive primetime data. I make sure to stream everything I can in 4K and leave it on all day in the background. I'm whoring the free leech on my private trackers to its maximum potential, getting season packs and updating all my stuff in 1080p or 2160p. I got a few games taking hundreds of gigabytes, and I made sure to download those during prime time instead of overnight as well. Now that the holidays are about over, I called up Comcast again and asked for the next lower speed tier. Why? Well, it's easier not to hit the data cap, and I will have 1 courtesy month left. So I saved an extra $10 a month for the same data cap, don't even need anything more, at least until next December. And now I don't do time of day throttling as a courtesy to the network anymore. This month I used 14 terabytes of data down, 5 terabytes up, where previously I have only used about 300 gigabytes a month total, mostly at night. Now I have plenty of time to binge watch all of those favorite shows saved in 2160p and save some money. Thanks, Comcast. Okay, that's actually kind of bonkers because I have Xfinity, which is Comcast, and we have hit that 1 terabyte data cap, and my dad got really mad because we're not used to having data caps, and they said that we can't do anything about it, but for some reason we haven't hit that data cap since then, so but that man's creative. 14 terabytes, that's a ton of stuff. How do you have 14 terabytes worth of content? What? This story's called He Asked for Answers, Didn't Ask for the Right Ones. I used to tutor a subject for my university called Psychological Statistics. It is one of the major requirements for any psychology-related major and minor. Any other science can take this in place of their statistics course if their section is full. I had been tutoring students for a while at this point, and there are always a few students that come in and say, "Can you just give me the answers to the homework quiz exam?" And I would always give them the default response of, "I can't do your homework for you. I can help you find a way that works for you to do it though," or "I don't know what's going to be on your quiz or exam. I'm a student just like you. I just tutor this." Normally, this stopped people from asking and they'd stop coming to my hours or sit in and got the help they needed. However, one semester, a student so intent on doing nothing came to my hours and pushed me so far that I stopped enjoying something that I loved doing. He would come in every single one of the sessions I had and he would ask again and again, "Hey, can I get the answers for homework X?" This wouldn't be so bad, but he'd stay the whole session and just sit there on his phone, and at the end, before leaving, would ask again, "Hey, can I get the answers for homework X now?" After it got to the 5th week, I was hitting my boiling point. So I asked the professor who I took the class with for their advice on the situation. He had a smug smile on his face and said,
"Give him what he's asking for."
I was very confused, but before I could ask anything, he said,
"He asked for answers, didn't ask for the right ones."
I smiled at that. The next session, I think you could feel the anticipation coming off of me. When he showed up and sat at my table, he pulled out his notes and said to me, "Hey, can I get the answers for homework X?" I said, "Sure." I'm pretty sure he thought he'd broken me. Oh, how he was wrong. The next 3 weeks for me were great. The only thing I was worried about was if my other students would hear me give him the wrong answer and use it. The best thing about this is, the homework gets graded a week after being handed in. If he would have checked the website, he would have seen he was not doing good on any of the homeworks, but he was an arrogant prick. Hope he enjoyed that 30% of his final grade. And there's some additional info. I did say this above, but yeah, to make things more clear, I am a student, not a professor. Also, I'm going to just paste here part of something I said below. If this class was just an elective filling credits, I honestly wouldn't have had a problem with his whole "this isn't important, do it for me" attitude and presentation of himself. Classes that are required are for core understanding of most anything: maths, English, or the respective language of your area in the world, sciences, etc. are things we should have at least enough of an understanding so to not only impede ourselves, but the progression of others around us. I completely have empathy for people who need help, who need tutoring, because you shouldn't be left to fail if you just need a guiding hand in the right direction. Those subjects, however, need to be grasped by the person so they can progress. You know what? I admire this Redditor because that's a really good attitude to have, and he actually enjoys tutoring people. I do not have the patience for that, much less to enjoy it. They should be a teacher. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.